between phonics and whole language. And I said with this approach comes read aloud. You can have group reading in your class, guided reading, and shared reading. So balancing means that learners are not only taught the oral language, they must also learn how to comprehend with the reading. So let's move on to the balance approach. If you do a balance approach in your classroom with regards to reading, you will do pre-reading, during reading, and after reading or post-reading. Tell me, are any one of you at schools, based at schools at the moment? Simone, are you at a school?
Portia, no, I'm not at school. I'm only tutoring at the moment.
All right, thank you. Michelle, are you at a school?
No, I'm done with my practical.
Is it all right? So you're familiar with read aloud group reading, guided reading?
Yes.
All right, and the balance-based approach.
Yes.
All right. Now tell me, how did you do it in your classroom?
Like I need to read to the children, and then I would like to show them pictures and ask them questions as I read along, and then after that I'll ask them to read with me.
All right. What grade was that, or what phase?
It was foundation.
Foundation phase. All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, with pre-reading, when we do pre-reading, you will normally tell a story to the learners, but you will not start reading as yet. With pre-reading, you show the learners the book, show them the cover, ask them to make predictions. And if it's a story, like I've said, about an animal, have a little feely bag, put the animal in there, let them guess what is in the bag and activate their prior knowledge. Then afterwards, you can show them the animal or the figure that was in the feely bag. Then we move over to during reading. While you read a story, you must show the book to the learners and you must point to as to where you are reading so they can follow. And in that way, they will know that they have to read from top to bottom, from left to right. So, vocabulary is very important during reading. When you come across the word that you think learners may not understand, you can ask them if anybody knows what the word means. And you'll be surprised. Some of them do know very big words. Then you teach them the vocabulary words. But remember, when we teach vocabulary, we must have little letters so they can also pack out the words while they sound and say it. Or you can have a picture of the word and the word next to it so they can see the picture and the word. Then, while you read, learners will still predict because you read and you stop and you will ask them, what do you think what's going to happen next? Then they can tell you. Or you can ask questions. Then you can also ask learners to role play it for you or to make the sound of a certain animal that's within the book or a character. Then move over to after reading. after reading or post reading is normally when you ask questions after you've read the book to the learners. See what they can remember and ask learners to retell the story. Together with post reading, you can do some visual perceptual skills like visual discrimination you can do with them. Have blocks next to each other, red, blue, yellow blocks, and ask them if they all look the same or if the color is the same. Or you can have 4 blocks on the board. You take them away and then and it's different colors and you ask them what color blocks was on the board now, and they will be able to remember some of them. That is how you teach visual perceptual skills. You can also include phonological awareness skills, like making use of auditory discrimination. You can ask them, you can put 2 words on the board and ask them if the words sound the same or if they sound different. Yes, student? Sorry, can you please mute your mic? Thank you. Yes, what did they hear different? Then you can also do compound words with them in the book. If there's words in the book like raindrops, you can have a picture of rain, a picture of drops, and you ask them, if I put these 2 pictures together, what do I get? They will say raindrops. So that is how you can work with after reading, post reading. You can also do auditory closure. You can perhaps ask them, give them a word. Give them a word. You can ask them, what do you hear first? What do you hear last? If I say red, you will ask them, what do you hear first? What do you hear last? That is how you do your auditory closure. And visual closure, you can include there as well. That has to do with visual recognition and reading of the words. They can also write if they can write. You can ask them to draw patterns, copy. And remember, the teacher always model. Everything you do, you must model to the learner. Are you clear on this slide?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Now, remember with read aloud. I said we normally read aloud in class, especially with the little ones. The teacher is the reader. The teacher models how to be a good reader. The teacher provides purposeful reading. The teacher chooses the text, but the teacher must make sure that she read stories on the learner's level or storybooks that's on the learner's level. And why do we do that? We do that to keep them interested and to get them engaged in the reading process. Let's continue. Why do you think, why do we apply this approach? This balance approach. Remember, whole language and phonics is the best way to teach reading. Then, learners must be taught the meaning of words and texts. And remember what I said? We do that by packing out the alphabet, ask them to build words, and they put it together. Right. And that was the 3 phases I explained now, the pre-reading, the during reading, and the post-reading. Tell me, during reading, what is your understanding now of during reading?
Yeah, Portia, my understanding of during reading now is that it is the activities you do while you are reading the book with the children, like showing them pictures and asking them to predict what will happen simply by looking at the picture and engaging them to be interested in the reading.
Yes, yes. And will you use a book that's on their level? Read a book on their level?
Yes, I think choosing the book, the appropriate book, comes in before the pre-reading phase. Like you actually have to look if the book's words are comprehensible for the children and so forth.
Yes, yes, definitely. And remember, we make use of the big books, as I've told you in a previous lesson, the big books with the big print and the big letters, the and the big pictures, so that everyone can see clearly. Because remember, you work with a diverse need of learners in your diverse group of learners in your class, and some of them might be far-sighted, nearsighted, and that's why it's always good with the little ones to have big books in your class. Right. And there's pre-reading again. You must choose the book that's appropriate, age appropriate. You must set the context. So like I said, you must have your feely bag. You must prepare for reading. Like you've said now, you must choose the book beforehand. Make sure that it's appropriate for the learners. You must preview the book. You must ask them to make predictions, the learners, and also to link the story to their prior knowledge. Then I spoke about during reading. This is the active process. They must make connection, focus on text aspects, and it includes read aloud. Like I said, when we do read aloud, teacher read first, learners read after teacher, and the teacher is always in charge. And then post reading, ask the learners to retell the story, to summarize the story, to reflect, ask questions. Or you can ask them if they would like to ask you a question, because maybe there's something they don't understand, and then they will ask you, and then you can make it clear for them. Right? And that is just the laws. You must remember reading the world precedes reading the word. The reading and reading the word implies continually reading, and that is what you do. You continually reading to your learners to make them aware of print and different kinds of print, and also to understand the alphabet letters and to make a connection with the sound. Then the act of reading words starts from the very comprehensive understanding of the act of reading the world, something which human beings do before reading words. That was written by Paulo Freire. Thank you. Now I'm going on to my next slides. We are going to start with spelling now. Just a moment, please. Tell me, can you see my slide?
Yes, Portia, we can see. Oh,
All
there's a
right.
black block open.
All right. Can you see it now?
Yes, we can see now.
All right. Spelling. Spelling. Tell me, what do you know about spelling? Anything? Is it just words? Is it phrases? What is it? What do we have to understand? Yes.
I think my understanding of spelling would be putting different letters together to form a word.
Yes. Thank you for that. Yes. Correct. Thank you. So now we're going to look at spelling. Spelling in the emergent literacy phase. Right. As you can see on my slide, emergent spelling is early spelling. They scribble, and only they will understand. They are normally aged between 3 and 5 years old. So, during this stage, they make a distinction between drawing and writing. So they know now already. If if there's a circle with flowers, they know that's a drawing. And they will know the difference between drawing and writing. When they see letters on a page, they will know that's writing. So you will notice that the child will perhaps come to you and show you a piece of paper with scribbles on it, but still the child will tell you what it says on the paper, and you won't understand. He will write something and he will, for example, say, he will tell you, he wrote, my name is. But you won't understand, but that is how the child understands. So why do you think we teach spelling? Remember, these young learners, they are busy with invented spelling. Only they will know what they wrote on the paper or writing at the moment. And this happened between the ages 3 to 5. So why do you think? Why do we teach spelling?
I think we teach spelling so that we can, uh, sorry, my words, English,
All right, no,
that
no,
word.
no, it's fine.
I think we teach spelling, formal spelling, so they can learn to write the words correctly, so they
Yes,
can learn to make sense of their own written work.
yes, of course. So, why do we teach spelling? We teach spelling because we use words across the curriculum, whether you teach language, mathematics, life orientation, or any other subject or learning area. You have to write and you have to spell the words. And we use spelling in our daily lives. That's why it's important for us to teach spelling at school level or at, or, at, or from early on. So we use spelling in our daily lives, and it is also essential for oral communication and for written language, because you need spelling in able to know what you're going to say, and for written language. Because remember, when we do spelling, we do sounds. So if you don't know the sounds, you will not know how to pronounce a word. That's why we say we use it for oral communication and written language. Are you clear on this slide? Or would you like to add, anyone? Right, let's continue. Now, spelling and the development of communication skills, it's very, very important. Communication skills are important for children to grow and also to one day or to successfully interact with the world, with others outside or in the classroom. Then, as we all know it, if you just look at the baby, for example, they can't communicate through words or verbally. They use their body language. So, communication usually begins with simple body language and gestures. That is how children begins to communicate. Now, as children develop and progress to verbal communication, they naturally develop an early understanding of their language. their home language. Listen, not the language of teaching and learning, but the home language, because their first connection with language is at home. So making connections between verbal expressions and written communication, it's very complex, all right? And it requires a combination of things like formal instruction. So the foundation skills, in order for them to be successful in spelling for written communication or for writing, are learned here in the foundation phase. They will be able or taught the ability to identify letters by sight. That's why you have words all over in your classroom. By sight, or even outside, they will see the word stop at the stop street. So print is everywhere. And they will build a connection between written patterns and also vocal expression. So they will make that connection between how it's written and how it's said. So let's continue. Now, what is the important components of spelling? Do this look familiar to you on the board or on the slide? All right. The important components of spelling is phonemic and phonological awareness. That is how words sound. By sight, how the words look in print or in writing. And thirdly, morpheme, how words are constructed from meaningful elements, meaning the letters in the word all form the word, so the word will make sense. Then we move over to the different phases of spelling development. As you can see on my slide, I have 5 stages, but I will only be discussing 3 phases that's necessary for now. The 5 phases is the pre-communicative phase, the semiphonetic phase, the correct phase. The correct phase is the very, very last phase of spelling. Then you get the transitional phase and the phonemic phase. Students, can we please just break for 5 minutes? Say till 20 past? 20 past 6? Will that be okay? Michelle? Simone? Can we just break for 5 minutes?
Yes,
Please?
Bishop. It's fine.
Thank you. Thank you. See you back here just after 20 past. Thank you. Michelle, Simone, you back? Can we start?
Yes. Yes,
All
I'm
right.
back.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Simone, you back? Simone? All right. Start. So as I've mentioned, the different phases of spelling development, the pre-communicative, the semi-phonetic, correct phase, transitional, and the phonemic phase. That is the 5 phases you get, or the 5 important phases in spelling development. So if we look at the pre-communicative phase, here, as you can see on my picture, learners can't really write. It looks like they can form letters of the alphabet, but it's not legible. And normally, they do not know all the letters of the alphabet, and it does not conform. They do not conform left to right progression. They don't normally write from left to right. And there's no connection between the letters and the letter sounds actually. So, the pre-communicative stage. Here children begin to use letters of the alphabet as well as shapes that they form. That shapes normally represents words. Then, however, the letters that they write are just random letters normally, or random shapes that's unreadable. And the child, they only use the symbols from the alphabet, but they show no knowledge of letter sound correspondence. The child also lack knowledge of the entire alphabet. He will be able to sing the song, but she don't really know the alphabet. And they won't really understand the distinction between uppercase and lowercase letters, and like I've said, to write from left to right. Did you see that in your classrooms? Did you see that before, that they do that? Yes, that is what they do in the pre-communicative phase. Now let's just move over to the phonemic phase. During the phonemic phase, it's important to teach learners phonemic and phonological awareness. It's important that they understand the skill of phonology. Then they must also be able to link letters to letter sounds. Here, learners typically, if there is two vowels next to each other, they will turn the vowels around. In my example on the screen, I wrote there, the boat is big, but they will write boat is big. The A in front of the A. The second example, if you look at bean, they swap the vowels around again. That is what they do in the phonemic phase. So during the phonemic phase, the child begins to understand somewhat the correspondence of letter sounds. And they will understand now that sounds are assigned to make letters, to form letters. And at this stage, the child often use letters but will swap it around, like I've said, with the vowels, because the vowels might look the same or sound the same to them, and they swap it around. For example, you must ask them to break the words up in syllables, which will teach them how to write the words at a later stage correctly without swapping the two vowels around. Then the child uses a letter, or he will use the group of letters like you see in the words, the group of letters, to represent the sound that they hear, like in boat, boat. They turn it around, they think, or they think that they hear the F first, and then they write it in that way. Although some of their choices may be correct, some of the words that they write. As you can see, they will normally write the words correctly that do not have two vowel sounds together in the phonemic phase. Do you understand this phase, or would you like me to go over it again? Thank you. Now let's move over to the transitional phase. During the transitional phase, they start to recognize common patterns and word structures. As you can see on my slide, I've inserted sentences of a learner. And you can see we made mistakes. He swapped some letters around. Not all the words, just a few of the words. So, developing visual and morphic strategies for spelling, that's important. We must try and do that. And vowels is present. Here, they also reverse their vowels. But some of it they spell correctly. So, what does transitional means? What it means in this stage or phase is that learners are learning to recognize common patterns and structures in words. Here, they begin to use those patterns in their writing. For example, students learn that adding an "e" to the end of a word usually changes the vowel to a long vowel, and they apply that rule to many other words. Would you like me to explain that part again, or do you understand? Because here, children begin to use patterns in their writing. For example, when you ask them to add an "e" to the end of a word, they will understand that it will change a vowel to a long vowel. And they will apply it to many other words. Like, for example, they might spell mate and take correctly after learning the rule of the long vowel. But they may also write night and wait wrongly because what they hear is night, not like in night, but they write it n-i-t-e, they write it night, and wait, they write without the e. Would you like me to explain it again? Michelle, do you understand? Simone, do you understand? Do I need to repeat or explain again?
I understand now. Thank you, Portia.
Is that all right? Thank you. Then also, we move on to the next phase. Well, let's see. Before we get to how the teacher can nurture the spelling development, let me just briefly explain the other stages, like the correct stage. That is the final stage. Here, the learner or the speller knows the basic rules of spelling. Right? They also understand the fundamentals of spelling, how to deal with things such as, for example, prefixes and suffixes, and silent consonants, and alteration spelling. They will understand that. So that is for learners that's more advanced. All right. So how do you think? How can teachers help students or learners with spelling development? What do you think, students?
I think it's important to have the, like you said earlier, um, I don't know, in some classes, when I did my practicals, I saw that all the things in the classroom had labels on them. Like the table had a label saying table and door having door. So the children can see how the words look so they can be able to um, put it on paper more easily. And also having the correct tools for writing everywhere for them so it makes it um, accessible.
Yes, thank you. Definitely. That helped the kids a lot. Yes. So how can we help them to nurture spelling development? Firstly, the awareness of spelling can help the teachers planning how they will go about teaching spelling to the learners or develop spelling, the learner's spelling. Now, teachers teach the alphabet knowledge and letter sounds. How do we teach the letter sounds to learners in the alphabet? How do you think? How do we teach it? We introduce them to word families, spelling patterns, phonics, and we teach them word structures. Remember, like you've said now, we teach alphabet knowledge to learners by print. For example, you print out the sound or the word, for example, you say the word door and you paste it on the door and learners can see it and learners know that the word starts with a dis sound and they know it's for door. Remember, the way we teach alphabet knowledge in class also is to have a print-rich environment with variety of resources, and the atmosphere must be comfortable for the learners, remember, to promote reading. That is how we teach the alphabet. That is now besides singing the songs, saying the alphabet daily, that is things we must do daily because learners learn best through repetition. If you repeat it every day, they will remember. Then next, we must hold or build on to purposeful writing experiences. Remember, these experiences are key to the cognitive growth in spelling. We must allow them to write, but remember, it must be purposeful writing experiences. We must let them experience writing. Then teachers, we can encourage this purposeful writing, such as writing messages, lists, plans. I can just think maybe letters, stories, and poems. Write it so they can experience this purposeful writing. Then we as teachers must also provide opportunities to the learners to write frequently. Let them write as much as they can, even in the pre-communicative stage. Let them write. Remember, we can't identify, it's not legible what they're writing, but let them write. We must let them write frequently, which then integrate with all the aspects of the curriculum. Remember, as I've said before, we teach them spelling because we make use of it across the curriculum, irrespective whether you do maths, life orientation, or any other learning area. Spelling is important and it must become part of their daily lives. Then, when you teach students to write, teachers, we should avoid correcting the mistakes every time, because remember, the learner must feel comfortable. If we correct it continuously, what do you think what's going to happen? What do you think what's going to happen?
I think the learners will become discouraged.
Yes, definitely. And we don't want that. Thank you. Yes, we must let them go ahead and write. And then early emphasis must be on the mechanical aspects of spelling in developing spelling. So please let them write frequently. Then teachers also need to select the spelling words they want to teach learners. That is learners. That's not in the pre-communicative phase. Which phase do you think will the learner be in when they do that? Remember, I said we get the pre-communicative phase, the phonemic phase, and there's a correct phase. Which phase do you think will they do that? Will teachers select spelling words?
I think it's in the last phase, the correct phase, or the phase before that, um, because um, they have to be able to write already, be able to do the spelling.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Teachers choose the words or spelling words from the very first phase. Even though in the pre-communicative phase, learners can't write, teacher will put it up there that eventually, one day, they will get it right. Do you understand it now? That is how we do it, because remember, your classroom is plinth rich, so all the words is on there. And now that is from that R that will happen. Do you understand it now?
Yes, I understand it now. Thank you.
All right, okay. Thank you. Then it's also important to play language games with learners. What language games do you think will nurture their spelling development? What games do you think? Yes.
In class, uh, we used where I observed. The
Yes.
grade R's played a game. It was like they would clap the word, not the word. They did the A sound, the vowels. Yeah. Sorry, I'm Afrikaans. So they did the A sound. So every time the teacher said a word, and every time the class heard the A word, they would clap. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. All right. That is one way of doing it, yes. Clap when you hear a certain sound. Clap when you hear the same sound every time in a sentence. You can play, for example, a game where you have the cards up in front and maybe say they must, for example, not clap. You can ask them to stand or sit when they see the certain sound on the board. For example, a, you put the a, you put the b, a d, and then a again. Then they must sit every time they say a. That is a type of games you play. And nowadays you also get word games for them, for learners. You can play word games with the learners as well. So yes, spelling, the development of spelling or to nurture spelling must be fun for learners. And we must not correct them every time, like I've said. We must let them write the way they think it should be right, but in the same time, we teach them the different sounds and how words consist of sounds. All right. Any other questions? Any questions, students? So for now, it's important to know the three phases of spelling and how we develop this knowledge of spelling by making use of phonological and phonemic awareness. Remember, phonemic awareness is what they hear, For example, like I've said, if you say the word cat, you must ask them, what did you hear first? And they will able to tell you the k sound. Or you can ask them, what did you hear last? And you must also remember, it's important to teach spelling to learners because we make use of it across the curriculum. And if a child scribble in the emergent spelling phase, it's okay, let them do it, because the more we let them write, the more that we let them write, what do you think what will happen the more they write? We will strengthen their fine motor skills, and that will allow them to have a better pencil grip. All right. Is there any questions, students? Or what would you like me to discuss in our next session?
Hi, Prisha.
Yes,
For the next session, would it be possible to discuss the theories? In
theories.
yes, the
Yes,
language theories.
all right.
Thank
Yes, we
you.
can. Thank you. So then next week we can do the theories. And tell me, how can we do academic writing at some point? Because remember, you must hand in assignments every time. Do you think? Yes.
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
All right, all right, I will do that. All right, students, then please don't forget to type your student number in the chat function and also complete the feedback form as well as the evaluation form, please. Right, and that note, I want to say thank you and have a good evening until next week, Wednesday, the same time and the same place. All right. Thank you, ladies, for attending.
Thank you, Fusha. It was
Pleasure.
eventful, no? A great learning experience. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you, students, and good night. Eh?